Dads, you have a role, and it's a very important role, especially for the mentality of your kids, so your kids can have a healthy mental state. They need to have you. We're going to be talking about that this week on episode 213 of The Relaxed Male. This is The Relaxed Male, a show that comes to you each week helping men to remove the nice guy from their life so they can actually live their life on their terms. Join the host, certified coach Bryan Goodwin, as he helps men step out of their heads and become free from the thoughts that bind them. Hey man, hello and welcome to The Relaxed Male. I'm your host, Bryan, and I am a certified men's coach who assists men who are just neck deep in the suffering of their life. Men who are going through just the thick of it, things like divorce, rough job periods, things like that. Men go through their day-to-day struggles and often find themselves just buried up in frustration and self-thought and all the things that just keep you playing small. Life can come at us fast, and sometimes we become so overwhelmed that we just don't have a clue as to what to do. I help you men get to the root of what your suffering is. Help you step back, relax, so that you can actually enjoy life. And in each episode, we look at what it takes to change how you look at your life so that you can be better, stronger, more confident, more successful on the other side without playing the victim. And today we're looking at why we need dad in the kids' lives. And we've talked about it. We hear about it all the time, how the courts are or not even they're stacked against dads. Dads kind of get the short end of the stick. They're kind of used as, the walking, talking wallet. And mom wants to do everything for the kid. Well, moms do have a role. Moms play a very important role in the raising of children. The problem is that they aren't the only one who has a good or has a needed role in raising children. There's the other side, the other critical part of being able to have a child in the first place. You have to have the guy in the relationship. You have to have the man who got the mom pregnant. He needs to be in the relationship. Now I hear you. I hear, especially a lot of the women start screaming. It's like, oh my God, no, you can't have that because they all have, the loudest ones all have their very loud reasons as to why they can't have men in their relationships. I was abused. And, it's amazing how many women have suddenly become abused especially when you start talking about men needing to be a part of their children's lives. And there's a lot of women who have put their egos to the side and have I need dad in this picture. And when you are able to do that, you get a better result. You get a better, well-balanced child. Without it, then you have kids who have dad baggage. We all have dad baggage, even if dad's around the whole time. You're going to find something wrong. Dad didn't do something that you believe should have been done. It's just how it goes. Dad, we take on the dad baggage and we shoulder it just fine. But wanted to kind of look through history and kind of show why dad's role in having mentally healthy kids is incredibly important. Why these kids need to see dad on a regular basis, and why that whole age 13, 12, 11, 12, 13, that little tween area is the critical point when dad really needs to step in. So just to kind of start with, if you look through the past, up until about 1964, back when the LBJ installed the Great Society, signed in the Great Welfare Acts, and he essentially decimated not just black families. He decimated all families. Because once you had in 64 is when you had the Great Society signed, and there was still an increase of marriages going on at that time. And that's because you still had people who had the old line of thinking. They were raised with, we've got to do it ourselves. So there was in the 60s and the 70s and on into about 1980, from 80 to 84, somewhere in that area, we had a kind of a peak. And I've got a graph in here that shows the United States. And right after the end of World War II, you see this huge spike where there was number of marriages per year per 1,000 people in population. So 16 people out of every 1,000 were getting married. And then after that, it dropped and it tried to make a little comeback and it fell and it wobbled down a little bit. Then it came up and then now we've just kind of been on a free fall roller coaster. And that happened right around the 1980s. The highest point of the return was in the 70s. It was like 73, 74. And then we had another fall off as the economy had a little bit of a crisis and stuff like that. And then it came back up in the 80s and then summarily started to drop again. And we have been in a drop for the past 40 years now. You can take this and you can look, and I found evidence for it, but I don't know how to make a representative graph of it. But it essentially right around 2000, another 20 years after, all of a sudden you start really seeing the mental health. You know, you got your Gen X or not Gen X, the millennials really starting to hit the market and they're in the job market and they start really coming up and they're the ones who've got all these anxiety-ridden problems. You know, there's ones that started it, and each generation after that, you got the Zoomers and now, you know, Gen Alpha, who are just these, you know, anxiety, mentally unstable beings that you feel sorry for. I mean, it's just they can't. I mean, we had in Business Insider had an article posted that Gen Zers, actually the Zoomers, are shooting themselves in the foot because they're going to job interviews and having mommy and or daddy tagging along for moral support. They don't have the fortitude, the constitution within them to do things on their own. They have to have, well, I'm scared, mom. Yeah, no kidding. You're doing something scary. You're getting a new job and you have to have mom and dad step along with you. No, that's the problem that a lot of people have. But the reason why you start seeing that increase though, is because we have a lack of dads in society. And it's not just that there are lack of married men. There are also the dads are being excluded. They're being forced out. They are being told they don't want to be used or they don't want to be, the women don't want the men around. But on top of that, also because of that, and because of how women are looking at men now as just basically little playthings, men aren't stepping up and taking their side of the job responsibility. And then they wonder, well, why am I not being fulfilled? Because your part of your fulfillment obviously is to be a dad, is to be in a relationship and be a dad and go through those struggles and those anguishes and to have a good, have that experience. Yeah. Is raising children great? Is raising children a wonderful, wonderful experience? Yeah. It's not all the time. I mean, there's a lot of times where you just are just setting up. There's a lot of late nights If you have kids, there's a lot of late nights where kids are doing something and you're trying to figure out why are they doing that. My kids had a lot of issues that cropped up that I would have never dreamt of. But the reason why we have such an increase in mental health problems is, again, because we took dad out of the equation. And I hear a lot of folks are going to say, well, but us women can do the same things that dads could do. Not quite. You can raise good kids without a dad. There's no doubt on that. Same as you can raise good kids without a mom, which a lot of feminists don't want. They don't like to hear that. Yeah. You can actually raise really good kids without a mom, but the chances of that fully happening are very minuscule. They're slim. You have an immensely better chance of raising a very healthy, well-rounded, confident adult if you have dad in the picture. And there are two big reasons. Dad is the disciplinarian. And that is not just, dad come along, whips a belt off and pops the kid on the butt because they're being an idiot, though that is some of it. The other reason is because when dad is playing with the kids, and dads do, we love to roughhouse, we play, we give mom heart attacks because we're doing stuff with the kids that she would never do. And that's fine. We are making tough, dangerous children when we play with our kids in a very roughhousing manner. But also when the kids start getting a little too rambunctious, start hitting a little bit too hard or doing things like that, that's when dad and their disciplinarianism, is that even a word? I don't think so. Our disciplinarian instincts step in and we know you can't do that. Sit off to the side. And we tell them to go sit over on the side, and they can't play with dad for a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, however long. And then eventually all right, you mind yourself? Uh-huh. All right, well, come on in. And y'all start wrestling around again until it gets a little too rough and you have to set them off to the side. Kids do that. They don't learn restraint unless dad is there. Kids want a bedtime story. All right. Yeah. And they'll read a bedtime story again. All right. Dad will read it again. And that he may say, well, that's the last time. Again, it's like, no, we've done the last time. And we draw the lines. We show the children what discipline is about. They get the time to spend with their dad. The time that the kids spend with dad are very important, but we've slowly been having that degraded. We've had that removed. We've had that scraped away. We've had that destroyed since the 1960s. And it's been just, every 20 years, it's a little bit worse and a little bit worse because we have kids who have grown up not knowing everybody talked about, well, it's toxic masculinity. No, what they don't understand is that's not toxic masculinity is not masculinity. Toxic masculinity is actually the lack of masculinity. It's boys running off of nothing but their own impulses based on their testosterone. When you have other men around and you start bringing boys into groups where there are other men around them, they start learning what masculinity really is. And most of these kids today, over half, do not have fathers in the houses. And you wonder why. You go into LA and there is people have decided just to give up and not partake in society and become homeless bums on the street because they can get high. They can do whatever they want. They can self-medicate, which is essentially what they're doing with all the drugs, without having to face any type of rules, because it's easier to not have to face the rules and to live in a homeless state. A lot of folks really get pissed off at me when I say homelessness is a choice. And it is. It's very much a choice. They choose to give up. They choose to stop trying to be a part of society. And they're like, oh no, housing's too expensive. Well, housing is expensive. I will give you that. Yes. But you can also make plenty of money. A lot of the people want to base it's too expensive to live there, by the fact that it's too expensive to live in a city. Well, no freaking duh, dude. You want to know how you drop the land prices for cities? Move out. Stop living in the city. Go live in you can live an hour outside of town. Yeah, you're going to have to pay a little bit more in gas, but at the same time, gas is a lot cheaper than housing. I mean, what is it, like a 500 square foot apartment in New York is something like $2,000 or something like that. Something astronomical. I can't tell you exactly what it was. But it's something to that effect. It's like a crazy amount of money. I'd rather live an hour. I'd rather live 2 hours outside of town, have to drive in, get up at 4:00 in the morning, drive in and be in town at 6:00 in the morning and come home and be home by 8 than to try living in that type of environment. I'd rather find, Podunk USA. You have choices. People don't want to make choices. It's easier to be broke and to be homeless in a big city because you've got so many people standing around going, oh, the poor homeless guy. They've made homelessness very comfortable. And many people, they do decide, you know what? I want something better. They get tired of trying to live in a tent, especially when a cold comes barreling through. But most of these people didn't have a dad to discipline them. Didn't get and some of them go, well, I had a dad. He beat me all the time. Well, okay. Yeah. All right. So yeah, all dads running around beating their kids too. No, I'm sorry, but that's a way to look at a circumstance. It's not really, I don't buy the full story, but dads are the disciplinarians. Dads show you how to be disciplined and show you the results and the benefits of being disciplined. When you can delay gratification, you're going to find that your life has millions of different types of rewards, thanks to the fact that you did not want to go for instant gratification. You weren't being the microwave society. Another problem that a lot of the young men today are facing is the fact that because they don't have their dads in the house, is because they don't have any mentorship. They just kind of, and so they just kind of lounge around. They don't have any direction because they've never been mentored. They don't have any idea of what it is they need to be doing because, again, they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. They don't have any idea of what it is they're not supposed to be doing. They just are going off of what their friends tell them. Their friends are just as ignorant as they are. So it's essentially the blind leading the blind. When you have a dad and when you turn 13, that's when dads and parents actually need to be phasing out of the parenting business and coming into the mentoring business. And when you aren't mentoring your kids, somebody else is, and they're not mentoring to your values. They're not mentoring to your line of beliefs. They're mentoring for their own personal agenda, which is another problem that we have. This is one reason why we have so many girls nowadays running around thinking that they're boys, and so many boys running around going, hey, it's easier to be a girl. No. Both sides have all the challenges that they need to have, and to sit around and go and wish that, I wish I could be a girl because, all they have to do is just stand around and look pretty and they can get picked up by a guy or whatever type of thought that they're having, to where they think that it's better to be a girl or it's better to be a boy if the girl. I see way too many girls thinking that it's better to be a guy, and it's not. There's a lot of there's a lot of rules to being a guy that we don't express. You can easily have a case of the grass is greener on the other side, all because, hey, I don't want to mess with that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to, my life is too terrible. I didn't have a dad tell me how beautiful I was. I didn't have a dad tell me how strong I was becoming. So these kids are becoming easier to manipulate and to coerce into being something that they're not. They're becoming easier to be talked into doing very permanent damage to their own bodies. Now, thankfully, I think people are starting to really wake up and are really starting to draw kids out of school, and they're getting the woke agenda stuff, punched in the teeth and told them and expressed, hey, this isn't cool. This isn't in any way cool. And we're not going to stand for it, because the best way to change a school's line of teaching is you take their money away from them. And they scream when they lose their money. I mean, that's why they are so against having voucher programs where kids in public schools could go to charter schools, because all of a sudden, hey, it becomes a lot. You're pulling money out of a school's mouth, and they don't like that. Here in Oklahoma, they threw a big old fit about it, and it actually failed, sadly, because people were more willing to listen to a bunch of teachers go, oh, well, it takes the money out of schools that really need it. And they're going to be, shopping for the best students and recruiting the best students to their schools. It was like, well, then get better. Or you could actually even set it up to where that money can't go to sports. That would be the better result, honestly. But schools like their sports. So, but anyhow. So we have dads, and we need dads in our kids' lives. This has been evident because of the lack of dads. Dads have just given up. They've walked away. You have the whole MGTOW movement, which is men going their own way. They drop everything. They recluse themselves from society. Red pill is a touch better, but still a victim-oriented line of thinking. We need you, Dad. Your kids need you. You need to be able to fight for your kids. Wife up and moves to the opposite side of the country. In all reality, you need to get up and move to that same side of the country. It gets annoying. It gets expensive. I agree. It's not fair. But that's also a reason why maybe you're just being an employee needs to change. Maybe you need to start taking on a bigger project where you actually are generating money instead of earning money. A lot of people have been told, you just need to be an employee. That's what we went to school for, is just to be an employee. Well, maybe you need to stop being that employee. But again, that would be completely contingent upon you and how you want to be. If you are wanting help with getting back into your children's life, try to better yourself so that you can become the man that your family needs, then reach out. Let's start taking a peek at what is actually happening in the back. What is the changes that you could make that can make you a better man? What can you do that would actually cause you to be able to walk through life more confident, take on the challenges that life comes at you with in a more effective manner? I've got a 6-month coaching package available right now. I've got room for maybe one more, and that's probably going to go away this weekend. So there's a chance by the time you hear this, it's already gone. And if it has, that's okay. I've still got, instead of having 100% off, it's going to be 95% off, which means that it's going to cost you $300. That's all. if you would like to change your life to be able to show up for your kids and to be there for your children and mentor them so that they become stronger, more confident young adults. So they're not these quavering blobs of emotions and uncertainty. We can do that. You can change your child's future so that they become successful. They look at life as a challenge and they welcome that challenge and they face that challenge head on. To be able to do that, all you have to do is shoot me an email, Bryan with a Y at relaxedmale, as in a dude, MALE, relaxedmale.com. Mention somewhere in there in the subject and the body of the email somewhere that you're interested in the free coaching. If I got it, great. If not, that's okay. It's still $300 for 6 months worth of coaching is a freaking steal. Considering when this is all done, we'll be paying $6,000. So if you would like to, and even then $6,000 is actually cheap because I know some people who charge $21,000 for a year's coaching package. So you've got that. So anyhow, guys, I want to go ahead and let you go and so you can continue going out and winning the day. If you need any any help, you got any problems, reach out to me, Bryan with a Y at relaxedmale.com, or go to relaxedmale.com/contact and shoot me a message and I'll get back to you. So guys, thank you very much for listening. Y'all take care. Have a great rest of the week. Until next time. Bye.